everybody, welcome back to another episode of Conscious Consumption. Once again, I'm joined by my longtime buddy, Michael Rasley. We're gonna, I think, probably just try to pick up pretty much where we left off. I think last time we did a pretty good job of outlining the negative effects of a digital addiction or dopamine addiction. And we wanted to kind of probably talk about and discuss, maybe offer some tactics to help you get through that rough patch. So Mike, what's the word? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Cam? Thanks for inviting me again. It's been fun to kind of keep this an ongoing discussion.
For sure.
Uh,
Try to keep the stuff fresh in our minds, even though it's been a minute since our last one. But
yeah, for sure. But it's interesting because the stuff does stay in my mind. And for instance, I rewatched the one where we're talking about. I think I had told you that I had stopped using Instagram, but instead I was using Tinder, which, by the way, is a terrible, terrible app. I never
that's
ever want
probably like a step down instead of a step up. Yeah,
major down. And what I was talking about was that, I think in person talking to somebody is 100x more um, just better than all the time and the energy that you waste on these social media apps trying to connect with people.
for sure.
And that stayed with me. And it's something that I still believe. And it's something that I now very much so believe due to some recent interactions. Again, using the app, it's so stupid. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but I never want to use it because it just doesn't work the same. Like if you think about if you just walk up to somebody that first time that you talk is your first date, right?
right.
So they feel for you and versus like the brain dead, you know.
Well, and it's the wasted time, first of all, like you said. It's also just the screen time, hence the brain dead aspect. And then also just the quality of the connection in person versus like I mean, I guess it'd be even better just like if it's whatever, like FaceTime or something, but just like messaging is like, I mean, I don't know. You don't really see much benefit out of that until like, you know, I guess it's like a way to get your foot in the door to be able to connect in person, but I don't know. At what point is it like just wasting all that time, really?
Yeah, it's a lot of wasted time, and that's the thing. I think actually with a lot of screen time is just so much wasted time. Like we think that we're saving time, but we're just wasting time, right? And so for instance, I think let's meet in person and then we can text, right? And then the little like, hey, let's meet, boom, 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 that's efficient, right?
Right.
I actually, since our last meeting, I tried to do a detox where I wasn't using my phone until 12, but I found it really hard because I was going to try and do 10 days. And I met some people that I wanted to spend some time with. And it was just impossible to not check my phone because I was going to do stuff in the morning and then I have my phone with me. And part of the whole detox is to just not have the phone.
Yeah.
And now too, which I just I realized if you want to do like a technology detox, you really have to have guardrails around it. I kind of went into it loosely thinking, okay, yeah, if I just don't have my phone till 12, well, what happens if that backfires, right? Have a backup. And then the other thing that I now realize too is how hard it is to actually do like full blown detox. Like, not going to use social. I'm going to try and delete WhatsApp and Telegram from my phone, which is what I did on that. I think I made it 5 days. I
Okay.
deleted my phone. No
That's
YouTube.
commendable.
But so it's on my computer, but it's annoying because then I'm trying to meet up with people.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's levels to it too, where if you make it too inconvenient for yourself, you won't want to do it. Um, and I think it actually takes away from life, especially with how connected we are. So it's
Yeah.
trying to find that balance of what works.
Right. Well, and like going off what you said too, it's like the whole I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like the whole for me benefit of detoxing and like setting constraints where it's like you don't use your phone till noon is just to like bring you back into yourself and get that mental clarity back. reconnect with the natural world. But if it's like you're thinking of all these people that you need to contact and you don't have the ability to just do it right away, that's just more stuff that's getting backloaded in your mind that's gonna be anxiety inducing, you know? Then that's one of the things I originally thought when you were saying how you would go till noon. It's like that's really commendable, but at the same time, I just don't know if I'd be able to do that because it's like there's little things and not even necessarily contacting somebody, but yeah, if someone texts me at like whatever 8 a.m. and it's like even if they don't necessarily need a response right away, it's like I really should be getting back to them. It's something that's just going to weigh on my mind until I actually take the initiative and do it, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
And that's the reason why I want to do it though, is because then first of all, it's the images. I feel like the biggest piece and problem nowadays is that we are bombarded with so many images that our brain cannot handle it. And so if I put images from other people's lives into my day and messages from what other people want into my day right away, then I can't take the time to think and to be in my own space and to be just what we used to be.
for
Yeah,
sure.
to be in nature. We used to be not see all these billboards and stuff like this. And so playing around with that and trying to see how I feel after 1 week, 2 weeks, something like this, and writing in the morning and reading and just going to a coffee shop to like be again with my own thoughts.
Hmm.
Need to have like a reason for doing it. Why am I doing it? Right.
Right.
What during that time? Otherwise, like you said, you're just going to be thinking
Yeah.
um, is important. And that's why I've done it and why I think it's healthy. But again, it's not possible. Like most people are going to work, right? In the morning at say 8 or 9 a.m. and they need to make sure that, hey, we got this project, right? And so, I'm in Barcelona right now and I'm with a group of friends and we all communicate through these group things and we were coordinating with parties and stuff. So there's a couple of days where a lot of text messages went back and forth, maybe
Hmm.
call it 100, 120 or something like that. And all day, boom, bing, bing, bing. Hey, man, I need this right now. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. And that I think that's most people's days. And that hasn't been mine for a while. I haven't been working for a little while. So it was nice to have that and to remember, look, this is not the reality for most people that they can just do this.
Right.
So coming back to what we want to talk about during this, what are some techniques to build in time to detox, to build in time to reset and to rebuild those happy. I like to think about it as like happy chemicals versus just dopamine, like serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. What am I missing? I'm sure there's like a million other ones. I don't know, testosterone, who knows, like
Yeah.
you're lifting weights or something like this.
Right. Doing
Um,
stuff,
yeah, yeah,
building stuff in the real world for sure.
yeah, exactly. Um, and I think that that's another piece of the puzzle too, is like if we don't have that, then it's everything else just kind of lacks, right? Like our dopamine can be messed up, or if we're not building something, then maybe we do have social anxiety because we don't have anything to talk about that we're doing or whatever it
Right.
is. Um,
Well, and no self-confidence even too, you know, if like you
yeah,
don't have anything going for you, at least personally, it's like um I've experienced that where it's like, what do I have to show for myself, you know, and maybe not a lot to talk about then either.
yeah, for sure. I think that can be something, and that actually is something. Um, I have some notes on my phone. I'm just gonna see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, go nuts.
So there's a book that here it is. The book is called, I should have it right here about the book. Habits of a happy brain. Retrain your brain to boost your serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphin levels. Um, and the writer is Loretta Graziano Bruning. Uh, yeah, I'll try it. Maybe you can post that in the title and I'll send it
Yeah.
to you. But this book is really one of two main books. The other book was like Tech Addiction for Dummies that I read recently.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, it's a great read. He's very repetitive, which is again, maybe a dummy needs the repetition.
Yeah, drive the point home.
Yeah, I sure needed it. Um, but yeah, this book really brought it home in talking about, look, for instance, even like think about your ancestors. Your ancestors, like you're here now. Like that is fucking insane to
Yeah,
think about. Like your ancestors had to survive. They had a lot of different chemicals and stress hormones for a reason, right? Oh shit,
right,
we don't have food, right? Stomach growling, right? Or oh shit, I said that thing. I shouldn't have said that, right? In a group setting, like that could ban me from the group, right? So next time maybe you don't say something like that. So
right,
all the things are wired into us, and now it's almost like we have to navigate this space where we don't have to worry as much about some of these things, about starving, about at least in, maybe that's a privileged thought, in the US and stuff like that.
yeah. At least in the
Or
first
so.
world.
But yeah, even like for instance, worrying about like a community. Like if I'm in a community and I get xed out, then I can go somewhere else, right? Stuff like this, where a lot of this stuff doesn't apply, but our brains are basically still the same. So they're still working the same, right? Our
Yeah,
cortex works the same. The things that light up, like for instance, when we find berries, oh, we find this thing that we like. Oh, that's the internet. Oh, then I find another thing that I like. Okay, bup, 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 and
right,
I'm still, those areas of our brain are still firing. So
right,
I found it really helpful in trying to help me understand how to think about the many different things that I need to build. Like for instance, even like just getting out, having a coffee, that's dopamine. But with friends, that maybe like we pat each other on the back and give a fist bump, right? That's oxytocin.
right,
Serotonin would be like I said something that they're like, wow, that's really interesting, right? In a group setting, boom, I'm not judging others and I'm like trying to build a connection. That's serotonin, boom,
right,
right? And then from there you can kind of build, because the issue with a lot of these chemicals is that it is like a drip, drip, drip. And that's what these companies understand, like Instagram and stuff. They literally drip you likes, right? So I have a like, 3 likes, and then I check my phone 15 minutes later, I have 2 likes, and they drip it to you because they kind of know the anticipation gets you, and that it is a thing over time. And the more that you drip, 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 the more that you're plugged into that thing.
right. Well, it's like reward prediction error, I think, right? Like, especially when you're not expecting it, it's the payoff is going to be that much higher.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's one of the things I like to think about is like, uh so sometimes part of the reason why we get addicted to liking certain people is because sometimes it pays out and sometimes it doesn't. Like for instance, you've got that person that you're really into, you have a really great connection, but sometimes they're kind of like not texting you back, or their involvement's off, right? It's almost like you're pulling a slot machine, and sometimes it pays out, sometimes it
Right.
doesn't. Kind of like that too, where yeah, I think the unpredictability of the payout is actually what gets us more involved, right? We don't know. So, like, if I'm looking for something, I don't know what I'm going to find. I'm pretty sure I'm going to find something, though. And just the thought of finding that thing is enough to keep me going. And then I
Yeah.
find the
That's a
thing.
big time dopamine release right there, the seeking component
Exactly.
for sure.
Um, but then, so how do we navigate that, right? And I mean, maybe you can start with yours. I know you said there was one that really helped you to kind of navigate your happy chemicals.
Hmm. Well, there's a bunch of different things, but I think maybe you just take it from the top. So I think, and you've already touched on a little bit, but just like setting your own environmental constraints. Obviously, there's different levels of being able to like hold yourself to that, and you're probably not going to always be able to do it. But I think like one example would be just like, or a couple examples would be like only bringing one cup of coffee with you to work um is a good way to just make sure that like you don't overdo it on the caffeine. And in the similar vein, just like keeping something as simple as keeping your phone out of arm's reach. So you have to consciously reach for it in order to pick it up. You just have to like proactively go for it. And hopefully that like brings it into your mind that you're doing it. Cause a lot of this times it's just like subconscious, you just pick it up. Um, for the day, whatever, like remove you from an uncomfortable situation or just like as to combat boredom so you don't have to like sit with your issues or whatever else. But um it just makes all of these little actions like conscious.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have to be really aware of it, and it's so easy to be unaware because so much of these programs are designed to keep us unaware, like for instance, and I like to refer to Instagram. I love Instagram, don't get me wrong, but like it's still super addictive. And so I like one of my barriers is to delete it. So I might it's
That's a
embarrassing.
good one.
I
That's
think
a real good one.
times a day, bro. Sometimes like I'll just be
How
like
many?
two or three
Oh,
sometimes.
okay.
Because it is a barrier, right? If I want to get
Yeah,
back to it, I have to download it. It's like, and it's like I got a slow internet connection. It takes a little while. Then I have to log back in. So that's one of my barriers. But I do like to think of like, what's your minimal effective dose of what you need to get back on track, or those other things that can kind of reroute you. Like for instance, instead of spending time on my phone all day, right? I need to clean my room, and like I'll just show you like for viewers out there. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I've got stuff on the floor there, right? I just moved into this place. I'm in a little Airbnb. And finally, I don't know if you can see this, but
a little blurry.
I got blurry. Sorry. Sorry for you viewers out there. That I finally hung my stuff up today after being here for like a couple days. But based on knowing that we're going to have this call, I wanted to do what I normally do. It's called chunking, right? Setting a 5 minute timer and just do 5 minutes, right? And 5 minutes turned into 15, and 5 minutes turned into me doing my laundry, putting it in the washer, to hanging it, to in my mind thinking after this session with us that I'm going to go to the gym, right? Which I wasn't necessarily planning on. I'm always very standard, but I want to do a leg routine today. And then, yeah, just generally cleaning up the space and also cooking before too, like pre-plan.
Mhm.
So I hit some little happy chemicals. I also invited some friends over for dinner, which is a something that I'm looking forward to. And I
Right.
also leveraged earlier today my buddy that I'm living with now. Like he was like, "Yo, you going to lunch?" Because I was just in bed all day. I'm just recovering a little bit from this party and just finally getting all my sleep after like 3 weeks of kind of going
Yeah,
out late,
playing catch up.
being very social. This is my first day that I've taken all the day to myself. But to leverage that social situation, hey man, do you want to go eat lunch? And then we have a nice little talk, right? We have some really healthy food. I got some
Mhm.
rest last night, hydrating. So it's like the little things that keep adding up and adding up. And to have those things in your back pocket to reset when you get off track. Because
Yeah,
again, we spend all day on Instagram or on YouTube. That's my big one. No more YouTube on my phone.
same.
It doesn't exist on my phone anymore.
Yeah, I just have it on my desktop, but I'm not like just on my computer or have to just use it in the browser. But I'm on my computer enough that it's like it doesn't even really matter. Um,
Man, that's the hardest one because I really like music too, and I have YouTube music on my phone, but I just it's so beautifully designed.
right.
Um, but now they have all the YouTube shorts at the top now. It's designed exactly like TikTok now.
Yep.
And
That's the
so
problem. Yeah. There's so much eye candy. It's like you can't, it's so impossible to stay on
it's
task on YouTube.
impossible. It's
Like
impossible.
fucking ridiculous. I have, and if you don't go to like click on the video, you just add it to the queue or save it to a playlist, your favorites playlist, or watch later or whatever. It's just creates this backlog of stuff that like you think you want to watch, but you must not really want to watch that much. Otherwise, you would have done it already. But that in itself can be anxiety inducing too, I think.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And even like, man, if I watched, so I went on a bus trip recently. And the bus trip was 10 hours. And I swear to God, not a single person spoke to anyone else that entire trip. Everyone had their headphones on and was like this for 10 hours.
This
10.
wasn't this
I
was
was,
in
it was
Spain,
me too, me too. Because I was actually had a bunch of videos that I downloaded that I wanted to watch that were gonna prepare me for some of the stuff that I'm working on now.
right?
So learning, right? But I don't even think I said hi to anyone or I didn't see anybody else talking to each other. So that's another
Yeah.
huge thing is like I think this technology just creates it just makes us into like crack addicts. It literally like monkeys sitting in the corner, right? You've seen the cocaine studies of I think it's monkeys doing cocaine and they're heavy users and after like a couple months, they're all playing together originally. And then after like a month of usage, they're all just like huddled into their corners,
Zero
just like
interaction. Yeah.
which you've seen our society these days. I think that's very much
Yeah, it's pretty representative, I would say for sure. Just going back to the chunking thing you were talking about too, I had a couple thoughts. So, like you said, when you just say like 5 minutes or whatever, you set that expectation that it's just gonna be something very tolerable and it seems way less daunting. And then it sounded like in your case, like you really started to build the momentum and you just continued on with it.
yeah.
Um, 5 minutes turns into 10 minutes, turns into 20, turns into I'm going to do all these other things that are very closely associated with it that I could be doing, especially when you're in that mind state, you know? And that's the thing about technology too, is it like it makes it so much harder just to focus on one thing for a sustained period of time because you have all these little notifications coming in all the time and it really breaks your rhythm, at least in my case, personally.
Yeah, and that's another one too that we could talk about is like one of my main things is no notifications. I mean, now I have it so that it will show on WhatsApp or Telegram because I was just checking I was clicking into those apps way too much. It's annoying to, but so if I see that I know that I have a notification, but no Instagram notifications because I know I'm gonna check like
Me neither. Yeah.
anyway. Yeah.
I'm gonna
Um,
go down the rabbit hole if I even open it up.
right, right. So yeah, so
I
just
know
being
myself better than that.
are really triggering. Also, no, always do not disturb mode. Always.
Right.
Call me, right? You're not gonna ring through, which is annoying a lot of the times, but you can text me and I'll see that. And then I'm everyone checks their phone like every 30 minutes to an
Right.
hour. I mean,
At least.
right. So you're gonna see that. I'm gonna see this stuff. So why do I need to hear the bing, 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 bing? And so for me, that's the number one thing I think people have trained themselves into the whole of Pavlov's dog. You're a fucking slave to your phone.
Yeah.
You're a slave to others. You're a slave to this constant interruption and goldfish brain.
Right. Right. And for me, like I had for a long time, I never like you said with Instagram, like I don't even have notifications set just for good reason. But on my computer, on my laptop, I used to not get notifications when I got a text message. Like it wasn't synced up with iMessage or whatever until recently. I don't know what I changed, but now it's like anytime I get a text, it'll pop up on my screen. And it's like, that's just breaks my concentration so much, you know, because then it's like, you know, the text and it's, if you don't answer it and you try to keep going doing what you're working on, like it's just stays in the back of your mind the whole time, you know? Like that's, I guess, where proactivity is nice in that case, and especially kind of going back where you're talking about like just staying off devices until noon or whatever. Um, but even like you said, do not disturb mode or not having notifications on really goes a long way too.
Yeah, and again, I think it's the like for things that for little shifters and behaviors, it's what's your minimal effective dose that you can do? Like Is it 5 minutes or whatever? Or and what are your guardrails or your minimum like phone usage stuff? Like for instance, what I really like to use as a big tool is the phone pickups, which I sorry, I can't remember how I could look it up on my phone on my computer right now. But you can look up like phone, I think it's in usage, and then under that it shows the amount of pickups that you have on your phone. And a good day for me, I think we talked about this before, is
Yeah,
like
yeah, we definitely did.
for sure below 60. Really, really good day is below 30. And
Pretty impressive.
that's that's a really good day, you know. And I would love to get it to like I would like it to be below 20 if possible. Like I just pick my phone up every hour, right? And I spend 5 minutes at the end of each
Yeah,
hour like that. And just bam, 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 right? So
yeah,
from call it 6 to I don't know, and maybe even less than that. If I'm working on something, 2 hours, no phone, check it, then I have 10 minutes and I can, you know, and it's very specific. Like it's only Telegram and WhatsApp or like from 12 to 2. And I still haven't done that yet. But coming around the corner, I'm going to be doing it. So I'll be in Koh Phangan in Thailand from, I think like the 16th of December till like the 20th. So I'll have a month. And my goal during that time is to try to be active and to still be doing stuff, but to have really strict guardrails around my usage. So it's a month. Also I'll be doing dry January. So it will be like a double detox.
yeah.
So alcohol, um, and then trying to have guardrails around my tech usage to see how that goes too. Because I not that I'm a heavy drinker, but I've been drinking a little bit more than I'd like to lately. And
It just
yeah,
goes with the social life,
I
obviously.
think
Like
yeah, for sure.
they go
And
hand
Spain,
in hand.
man, I'm in Spain, right? It's like fucking the best vino, some of my favorite wine in the world, Riojas, Tempranillos. Yeah, these wines are, oh man, I love them. And Estrella, everyone here drinks beer and vermouth. And like, if you go out and you don't have a drink, oh, that's weird.
Who is this weirdo? Yeah,
Yeah. So for the last week here, I'm actually going off and won't have any. And I've committed with my buddy. That's another thing too. I think committing with somebody and really having a dialogue about it too is
yep,
really good. And I think can give you purpose in your desire to shift the habit.
for sure. Well, I think that's a really good tie-in because I was just going to talk about committing to things, other ways to commit to things, and really just put some skin in the game. And like, I actually drinking in particular as an example. So like Tim Ferriss does like the 5 minute journal or whatever, where it's like you write three things that you're grateful for in the morning, like three things that would make the day great, and then at night you do three amazing things about the day and just like three ways that it could have been better. And like one thing that I have tried with moderate success and done is like preemptively writing the three successes that you had in the day to kind of like serve as a way to hold yourself to that. So for example, if you're like saying, all right, I'm going to go out tonight, but you only want to have two drinks, like instead of just writing that as like the goal, write that as the success story, even though you haven't done it yet. And maybe that'll be a way that you actually hold yourself to it a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean it's that's another piece of this puzzle in this book, the habits of a happy brain. It's very similar. They are using like ideas like that of how can I make this work for my brain, right? So how can I reframe this? What is my frame? Am I grateful? Am I in gratitude? Am I like, for instance, if you judge people, you get a small serotonin hit. If I'm judging somebody short term, but long term, you're not making those connections, right? I'm judging, so I'm not. That person can sense that about me.
Right.
So in cortisol, in stress, because I'm not creating good bonds with my people, right? There's no serotonin from good interactions, from building relationships, from touching, oxytocin, from dopamine. Hey, we did this thing together, blah, blah, blah. So Yeah, I think it's yeah, um kind of lost my train of thought there, but yeah, I think it's in alignment with what you were just talking about.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, kind of continuing on, I think that's a way what I said before, that specific technique of like journaling preemptively is a way to kind of just like start you on the path to exercising willpower. It's kind of like hopefully we'll get put the wheels in motion, so to speak. Um, but like anytime you're able to just like resist the urge to pick up your phone or decide not to like have dessert after dinner when it's just already become ingrained is like can be very powerful and just like retrains your brain to like understand that you don't always necessarily need those conditions. You know what I mean? Um,
But the other thing, so another thing on that topic is it can take up to 45 days to build a new habit. And it does actually take a considerable amount of willpower, right? So trying to take on way too many things is can take away from the habit change,
right,
right? Taking what I like to think about is if you're really going to make some of these changes, because it's nice for us to talk about all these things that you can do and this idea and that idea, but like to actually implement for most people, I think it's choosing the most impactful thing. Like for
right.
instance, it's just getting good rest. And I know that using my phone before bed is keeping me up, or I don't know.
Or
Right.
lowering your sleep quality, if anything else.
Yeah. And for me, I know if I don't have earplugs in, I'm just not going to sleep well.
Hmm.
Buy some earplugs, right? Get your rest,
Right,
stick to schedule, right? So find your biggest impact thing and try and stick to that and try and build that habit. And just stick to that for 45 days. You don't have to do everything. I think it's people just need to pick one and then you can hit that. And once you notice the difference from that one thing that you change, then you're starting to buy in too. And it becomes easier for the other things because it's like, damn, that really makes a difference.
right. Well, and sleep especially is a really good starting point because if you feel well rested, you're going to probably be a lot less likely to give in to all the other temptations that you're already dealing with, at least in my case. And
Exactly.
I think it's like kind of just a matter of like continuously reflecting on how you feel when you just about yourself, like self-esteem, but also just like in terms of mental clarity or whatever else, when you're able to like avoid all those things that you have an affinity for. Um, I think one technique too is just in terms of like keeping that constantly like in the back of your mind is just visualization. So like if you have the urge to do something, like for me, it's just I'll tell myself or like at least have my try to think about like how I'm not going to be worse off if I were to abstain from it. Like after the fact, you're going to feel exactly the same, if not probably better, because you're going to feel more positive towards yourself. Like if you decide not to jack off at night. If you resist that urge, um, either way, things are still going to be the same tomorrow, and you might even feel better about yourself after.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's that's the other piece too. Like, I really think that when we don't have access to certain chemicals in our brain, that it affects everything else. Like, for instance, our prefrontal cortex, which is long-term planning, right? When we don't have certain vitamins and nutrients and minerals in our body, it affects our nervous system and how things fire. Like, for instance, I had a client when I was training as a personal trainer. She just no sound really threw her off. People talking or being too loud, and for sure, I would bet anything it was a B vitamin deficiency.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think she got tested and she did find out that she had it. But it's like these little things, they affect us so much.
right,
Don't know, right? So it's all these things that add up into the bigger picture, right? For instance, maybe even that other piece of the, jacking off is oxytocin. Are you getting enough touch, right?
right.
Uh, go to massage. That's a great one. Or even self massage. stuff like this. Like, so are we giving ourselves what we still need? Because it's okay to have that. It's okay to do that, right? But it's also like what might be missing
Right.
in our diets, in our day-to-day activities, in our I don't know, what's missing that then is causing that, right? For instance, I even know smoking, right? Or sorry, eating fried foods, eating sugary foods is often a result of having I don't know, a lack of, let's call it like magnesium or something like this. And that actually then adds to that and makes it worse, right? So when we're out of balance, typically we seek things that bring us further out of balance. When we're in balance, we typically seek things. So the goal obviously is to take that first step of like the biggest, what's your biggest thing that can
Right.
make the shift? And then from there, it ripples out. For me, I know it's sleep, period. 10 to 6, 10 to 6, 10 to 6. And partly because it keeps me out of trouble. 10 to 6, everything after 10,
Nothing good happens after 10 p.m.
good. I know in my life, nothing, well, some fun stuff happens
Yeah,
after 10,
for
but,
sure.
but is it really worth it long term? And does it
Right.
really back to my long term goals and feeling really good the next day and feeling grounded and like walking down the street, high fiving everyone? Yeah, what's up?
For sure. You just, for me personally, just like you're just more adaptive to anything that can come your way when you're well rested. And also, I just feel like being a part of the world and engaging with it a lot more. And going back to like what you said, like the noise sensitivity and stuff, I feel like that happens to me when I'm hungover or just sleep deprived to begin with, like noise and light sensitivity for sure. So getting some quality, catching up on some quality Z's definitely is a good way to combat that, I feel.
100%.